The most underrepresented group in piano lessons is students. Last week I filmed a video musing around that topic, and in just a minute I'll show you that video. First, I need to set the stage, and while I'm doing that, you have just enough time to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss next week's video where I'm going to detail ways we fix this situation. Or if you're not watching the week I post this, maybe the other video's already up. To set the stage, I'd like you to imagine two different styles of piano lessons. If you're a parent thinking about your child's piano study, imagine your child is participating in these lessons. Otherwise, imagine yourself in them. In the first style of piano lessons, the teacher tells students what to do and how to do things. That's perfectly reasonable. I mean, people take piano lessons to learn how to play. Seems like having a teacher tell them how to do it would be the most direct approach, right? Now I want you to imagine piano lessons that are not focused on teachers telling students what to do. In these lessons, teacher and students experience music together. These are often done with groups of students. So imagine a teacher singing a melody. One student is playing chords to the melody in the middle of the keyboard. A less experienced student is playing a bass line on the left side of the keyboard. A very young student is providing accents in the high register while they watch what the other students are doing very carefully. There's another student who isn't playing at all, but she's singing with the teacher and moving in a flowing way. Another kid is in the corner on the floor drawing a picture in a notebook. They don't look like they're participating, but they hear everything that's going on, and every once in a while, they'll hum a note or two of the melody. Now that you've imagined those two styles of lessons, let me ask you two questions. Which way do you think piano lessons are usually taught? And which way do you think students are more likely to learn music and remember and use what they've learned in their regular life? I think the answers are pretty clear. Students over time do not respond well to being told what to do, even though that's usually how lessons are taught. Students love and appreciate learning tools to think, experience, and create music for themselves. The second style of lessons nurtures students as they grow into creative and versatile musicians. And how does that relate to the topic of this video? Well, in the last several years, I've noticed lots of piano teachers making a real effort to find music composed by underrepresented ethnic or gender-identified groups to teach their students. That's important work, and I hope it continues. But if those pieces are taught the same way we usually teach the quote-unquote traditional Western canon, there's one person who is never going to find their own musical voice, and that's the student on the bench. Who will represent them in 100 years? They'll always be the weak musician in the room, and what they usually learn in piano lessons is that they can't play piano or that they're not even interested in music. Oppression, if I may be so bold. Hopefully you've subscribed by now, so I'm going to roll the video I made last week. After you watch it, please take a moment to visit my website, which is linked in the description, and sign up to gain some new and powerful musical skills. I hear students playing music by Bach and Beethoven and Mozart, music that I love, but this music is only alive in a small pocket of our culture. Even in those pockets, what I often hear are pale imitations. Those composers were great improvisers, but their music is usually taught in modern lessons as an infallible text with no room for embellishment or humor or anger or sadness. It's played on instruments that sound very different from the ones the composers wrote on. It's played too fast on instruments tuned differently. And this is all fine. I still love that music. But teaching it, every year I feel like teaching music by dead white European males is less and less relevant. Sometimes it feels quite surreal. Sometimes I feel like teachers just teach this stuff to get frustrated when students can't play it. But it's not the student's fault. That music is just not alive and thriving in a dynamic way in their culture. Instead of trying to force it, we should be helping those students build their own musical culture. And what can I do about it? I'm a middle-aged white teacher who received a lot of privileged opportunities throughout my life. And I'm grateful for those opportunities. But musical expression should be open to everyone, like spoken language is. I'm saddened by a lot of what I see in piano lesson culture. Often I see parents who just want their kids' lessons to be fun, and I get that, but it doesn't leave teachers room to cover what's most important about music and art. Sometimes parents stop the lessons if I don't cover things the way they think they should be covered. Often I get the impression that parents just want me to confirm that their kid's a musical genius, because if the kid isn't, they don't want to waste money on lessons. It shouldn't be like that. Every interested child should learn music. And then I see other teachers providing superficially fun lessons without much substance. Over time, they become very unfun as kids grow older and realize an emptiness that they know could be filled with artistic expression and exploration they haven't been given the tools for. And I see teachers who go the other route and teach very strictly. And I see damaged students come out the other end, either as professional musicians in a crowded field or after they quit lessons feeling like failures. We talk so much about parents' needs and teachers' needs. What's rarely talked about is what the student needs to actually learn music. The piano is incidental. If the child doesn't have a vocabulary for music that lives in their mind and body, no amount of theory or technique is going to help them to explore an instrument. I see piano students posting their performances online, and often as not, they include an apology. Sorry about the wrong notes, sorry about the memory slip, sorry there's no expression yet. And I think how fragile a framework for exploration we've created when students are more aware of their shortcomings than their skill at artistic creation. And this fits what I see in real life too. I can't count how many times I meet an adult, and when I tell them I play and teach piano, they tell me about their experience. Every time when they say they took piano as a child, they'll add some kind of negative framing. They'll say, I just didn't take to it. I gave up. I'm just not talented in music. I couldn't read music. I wish I could have done better. Meanwhile, a rising tide lifts all ships, but we still teach piano lessons geared toward individual piano heroes, even though everyone's successes are limited by a society where the musical tide is low. Modern piano lessons either coddle students with material that's not interesting or condescend to them that one day, if they practice hard enough, they might be worthy. Lessons aren't seriously designed to help students pass into musical maturity. Students are left either wondering how to get to the next level, or they just decide that music isn't for them, and both scenarios are heartbreaking. We need music education that looks forward at least as much as it looks backward. My feeling is that every student's musical voice is important. It's the peak of representation when every individual child and adult is represented, and they learn the tools they need to create music with their own voice, meaningful in the context of their own culture. That's why it's important that students learn a vocabulary of tonal patterns and rhythm patterns that they can use to play existing music, but more importantly, they can use it to create their own music. The specific patterns I teach are based on my experience, but the system of breaking music down into pitch components that are sung and rhythm components that are moved to, that's a system that can be applied to all music, even kinds of music that haven't been created yet. So I hope you'll take the material in my videos to heart. I know it's challenging material sometimes, and that it often runs contrary to piano lesson dogma, but it's worth paying attention to. As the culture I grew up in fades, we have a wonderful opportunity to create something new to replace it. I can't think of anything better to replace it with than a series of intersectional musical cultures where every voice is valued and expression, exploration, and interaction rather than production and consumption are the main values.